for a conversation presented by Rokt, please welcome the SVP of Customer Success at Rokt, Ashley Robinson, in conversation with Skift Research Editor, Jeremy Cressman.
Ashley, welcome so much to today's summit. We're happy to have you here.
Hey, Jeremy. Thanks. Happy to be here, and thanks for everyone dialed in listening.
So Rokt, as I understand, is a company that helps other travel companies make their e-commerce marketing more relevant, more effective. And I wanted to talk to you today about OTA marketing. So maybe you can start by telling me in your own words what Rokt does, and also what does the marketing environment look like for OTAs as we start off 2021?
Yeah, sure. Rokt is a marketing technology company, and what we do is help create one-to-one experiences throughout e-commerce transactions. It's actually a term we've coined, the transaction moment. Mm-hmm. And our history is actually rooted in travel. Our CEO, Bruce Buchanan, he was previously the CEO of Jetstar Airlines in APAC. And while he was there, he realized that if he could bring machine learning and technology to improving ancillary upsells and improving that take rate, he could really double the profitability of the business. So when he founded Rokt, he took that concept and then really applied it to other e-commerce businesses to solve that problem that we're facing now. So our goal is to increase value throughout the transaction by improving the relevancy between offers and experiences that you're serving to customers. And that can be through cross-sells, that can be upgrades, that can be third-party monetization. And then with the third-party monetization piece, the way that we're helping brands is we're creating this exclusive marketplace that they can tap into. And that really allows them to acquire new customers that are consistently buying online, that have their credit cards in hand, and their minds are open to new brands.
So interesting to hear about the founding of the company, Jetstar, and what's happening in Asia Pacific with marketing and merchandising. I look at AirAsia or other airline brands like that. It's very interesting to me. So it's a super interesting origin story. Let's talk about what happened last year. I think we all recognize 2020 was a very challenging year financially for a lot of travel brands, and especially in the realm of marketing, I think that hit a lot of marketing budgets. So I'm wondering, as we think about OTAs trying to adapt to this year and as we look ahead optimistically to a recovery, how do you do more with less with these lower marketing budgets? Is there anything that OTAs should be doing?
Yeah, we've definitely seen and felt this impact with our business. And what we've been doing is partnering with our clients to really do exactly that, do more with less. And the way that we've been able to do that is by getting creative. So the trends have changed drastically. I think consumer comfort levels are still very unpredictable. So one thing we've been able to do is really help measure that consumer behavior through online purchasing trends that we're seeing, and then using technology to really target the right customers at the right time. So working with brands by using LTV data, lookalike audiences, you can really create a personalized message and also create a more tactful approach to drive bookings. Some of that has come in the form of actually changing the messaging that we're putting in front of customers, bringing to the forefront that a vacation package is fully refundable. That we've seen has actually increased booking conversions by 4x and increased the booking value by 18%. Some of it's also coming in the form of how to use your CRM, SMS, app notifications to create more context and frequent updates. A couple of people have spoken to it already today, but creating more comfort with your consumers on what's happening in the industry, getting them more comfortable with traveling again. And then I'll say the last one that we've seen that we've been really working with our clients for years on is looking at the booking window. So it's very interesting with our clients. We tend to measure what happens with customer behavior between the first acquisition and the first booking or second booking.
Right.
And historically that's been, weeks, sometimes months. And now it's more like 2 to 3 days. Sometimes there's very spontaneous travel happening. So how do you capitalize on getting in front of customers when they're in that spontaneous moment?
Hmm. So interesting how these little micro tweaks can have such a big impact, mentioning being very explicit about the cancellation options, changing the booking window. It seems like it's all having a bigger effect than it would seem initially. Ashley, I want to ask you about targeting customers or the profiling of customers. Obviously, that's a big part of online marketing.
Yeah.
In the last 12 months, I think we've seen this emergence of new customer segments. One that comes to mind would be, road trippers, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate a bit more on how do you actually target or even just personalize your messaging to reach this type of customer? Are there particular brands you've worked with that you've targeted for road trippers, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. Historically, we've seen domestic travel used to make up about 50% of our clients' business, and now it's almost at 100. I think Julie and Greg both spoke to this, that there are those dramatic shifts in the industry right now, last minute vacations, short-term rentals, staycations, and road trips. We've especially seen pick up. So what we've done with OTAs is, one, shift messaging towards those lines of business and use that in the upfront marketing materials with that focus on local trips. And then coupling that with our ability to get in front of customers when they're in that spontaneous moment of making a purchase. Their minds are open. It's something that they can feel safe doing, like a local getaway. We've really found success in capturing that opportunity for them. And then specifically in the car rental space, that tends to be a margin type product. So really where we've been leaning into those brands and helping them during this time and this past year has been helping improve their on-site monetization and also increasing ancillary upsells. So that's shifted their profitability during this time quite drastically.
So I want to touch on the upsell topic in just another minute, but first I wanted to ask you about another topic which I think is really relevant right now, which is privacy. You think about how we target customers, but you also look at what's happening in the online advertising environment, both with Apple and Google. They're putting in place these big changes to privacy rules, privacy transparency. How do you think that's going to impact OTA marketing strategies? You think about the third-party cookie being this really important part of online marketing, and suddenly that's going to possibly go away. How do you adapt to that? What do you do?
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting world for travel marketers to come back into. I'm sure it's probably on the back burner for most travel companies, but it's happening. And the walled gardens that Google and Apple are putting in place are going to make it really difficult for the travel industry, which is a multi-touch attribution funnel, to really measure accurately what's happening across their different channels. And Rokt is taking a similar approach. The fact is third-party tracking mechanisms are just becoming less and less accurate, and now they're less available. So what we've been doing is really trying to move our clients to a more accurate way of tracking. And we're doing that through, hashed first-party data using secure APIs. It really helps create more accuracy in the campaigns anyway. And it also opens them up to utilize tools like LTV targeting or measuring incrementality or lift studies that actually can improve the performance of the campaign overall.
Really quickly, you used the term LTV targeting. What does that term mean? And also incrementality, just for those of us that are listening.
Yeah, so LTV targeting is using customer profile data around your best customers. So how do we take a visual of your best customers and then go find more of them? So that's one thing, it's a tool used to drive and increase conversion of that first-time booking. Incrementality is a bit different. That has been something we have done multiple studies within the travel industry. And what it does is it helps you actually identify and target customers that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Okay.
Right? So who's not already booking with you? And the way that we're able to do that is actually, utilizing control groups or holdout groups and treatment group, and then measuring their activity with that brand after they've opted into their offer on Rokt. And by isolating the revenue that our channel is driving compared to the spend, we're really able to help solve that multi-touch attribution problem and really create a clear picture for where those dollars are going.
Thank you for clarifying that, Ashley. So I want to talk a bit more about upsells and also this moment of the transaction moment that you described earlier. Do you think that the purchase is actually a missed opportunity for OTAs? I mean, OTAs have gotten so good at converting people, actually making that sale, but is there anything else they could be doing to go beyond just, okay, the person bought the flight, they bought the car rental, what else could they be adding to that? Tell me a little bit about how Rokt thinks about this issue.
Yeah, we've definitely been thinking about it this year, and not only with the travel industry, we work with the entertainment industry too, which is feeling that same type of pain. So when transactions come back, they're going to be much more valuable than ever, right? You really want to capitalize on that and maximize that value per transaction. And the travel industry has this opportunity, Lindsay just talked about it, a merchandising machine, right? They have so many add-on products that they can be using throughout that transaction funnel. So how do they take this year and this downtime to improve the technology, improve how they're merchandising the site, to create better relevance for their customers, make the journey more enjoyable, and ultimately deepen that relationship? We've actually touched on this in the past. We did a paper with Skift in 2019 called The Anatomy of the Upsell, where we actually, I think you worked on it with us. So we dissected, what travel brands were doing throughout that experience and evaluated what were the best opportunities. And it's certainly not throwing everything at them, so they power through the booking and just confirm that their flight is locked in, or like that creates that paradox of choice that Lindsay mentioned. But really it's about deciding what is the next best action, what is the next experience or UX for that individual consumer. So we've seen by taking that approach, you can actually improve the take rate of your ancillary products by 5 to 10x, depending on which product it is. And I think brands know that this is an opportunity. It's not, the secret sauce, but it takes a while to build that sophistication. It's, companies are really light on resourcing right now, unfortunately. And sometimes there's conflicting priorities right now on where they focus as a business. So, they don't really know where to start with it. And I think where we've been focused on helping our clients, it is, lending that opportunity. We have technology that we've built up over 8 years to make that decisioning. So we can build in smarts around, not only personalizing, but what's the UX? What is the actual offer or product that we're putting in front of any given consumer through that transaction, and helping them decide what will not only be most engaging for each customer, but also what's going to drive the greatest profitability. So if we can combine those two factors, we then end up maximizing that opportunity. And some of the products that we've really been focusing on this last year are things like insurance, the app downloads to get those multiple notifications, different payment options, split payments, co-branded credit cards. These things are all going to be very important to customers next year. So being able to get it right is going to be key. And making that decision really requires you to have a lot of sophistication around understanding customer experience and interaction behavior, which is something that we can help with.
Yeah. Well, and, OTAs have always specialized in optimizing the purchase, but this seems to be a missed opportunity, right? It's especially in this year where purchases and trips are more scarce than they would have been in the past, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we had a couple audience questions. I thought I'd throw one of these your way, Ashley.
Sure.
What are some new forms of acquisition you're seeing as a result of the pandemic? Are there any new strategies, is how I guess I'm interpreting that, for acquisition?
Some new strategies. I would say, what we're seeing is, again, that messaging is adjusted. Getting people into a CRM funnel has always been a core component for us, because we know that there is a time delay between when you're actually making a transaction on one site and when you're ready to book. Right. So I think what we've seen, and even I got an email from Expedia this morning, is like when their CRM funnel is now changed, it's less coupon based, less promotional based, but more around creating comfort and understanding what you can do with that staycation. So that's how I've seen the strategies change the most.
Interesting. Well, any final thoughts before we wrap up on how OTA marketing is going to evolve in this year to come?
Yeah, I think my final thoughts are, brands should ease your customers back into that booking funnel, being really smart and thoughtful about when and who you're targeting that messaging to, providing them that security and personalization to improve that comfort level is definitely going to be key. And then presenting them with options that are relevant and personalized so that they actually appreciate that experience, I think will ultimately bring them back to being the loyal customers that they were.
Ashley, this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us today at our summit.
Yeah, thanks so much.